everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them Silent Breed is people! We gotta stop them somehow!
Welcome to Sound and Fury. I'm Eric Wilford Watson.
And I'm Frank. Hugh Frank.
Today we're going to talk about Star Wars stuff.
Yay, Star Wars stuff. Your favorite subject. So, hi everybody. So, I want to talk about the Star Wars Civil War, and that's not a movie, that's not related to Captain America Civil War. What it really is all about is the growing division at Lucasfilm, mainly between the Jon Favreau camp and the Kathleen Kennedy camp. And in recent news, just to get the elephant out of the room, of course, Gina Carano was fired. She found out via social media that she had been let go from Lucasfilm. It has to do with tweets and Nazis and...
Nazis. I hate these guys.
A lot of people are saying that it's very political, but really Pedro Pascal made similar tweets involving presidents and Nazis and was not fired. So really, let's just push the politics aside. It's not left or right. What it really is between the old guard at Lucasfilm and the let's just call them the Empire and the rebellion, who are bravely fighting to keep Star Wars the way we want it to be. So in one corner you've got Kathleen Kennedy, kind of the heir to the Empire, usurped power from George Lucas, and she has basically been relegated to to the book series. Her movies have been largely canceled. There's a couple out there. She was a giant powerhouse back, of course, when Disney first acquired Lucasfilm, and has subsequently had a lot of her power taken away. On the other side, you've got Mandalorian creator Jon Favreau. You've got Dave Filoni, who was very instrumental in the Clone Wars.
Is he related to Mike Misdemeanor?
Yes, he is. Actually, no, Mike Misdemeanor is Dave Filoni's cousin. Very good. So you've got these two rival camps, and really what's happening is this was a power struggle. You've got the Mandalorian just broke open the whole Star Wars being on TV. Lucas had been trying to do that since 2005. It was very successful. It got people back to watching Star Wars. Meanwhile, you've got poor Kathleen Kennedy. The only thing she can do is work on books, which, you know, movie producers producing books is really not really a good recipe. What do you think of the New Order High Republic?
High Republic. So a while back, I saw High Republic advertisements pop up in social media, advertisements and what have you, and because I Google things Star Wars and science fiction, they figured I was a nerd, so I'd probably buy it. So the tech giants that be decided to show me an advertisement for it. And I didn't know what it was. It didn't tell me straight away, is it a comic book, is it a movie, is it a TV series, is it an animated show, is it... I don't know. At the time, Star Wars website didn't really even say. It just said it takes place before, Luke Skywalker, and that made me think, oh, so is that like the Old Republic books, which are, I guess, legend now? I always think of the Knights of the Old Republic video game.
There's some rumors about whether or not that's going to be legend or if it's canon or whatever. Some of the stuff is, some of it isn't.
Yeah, I sort of think of it as canon unless it's contradicted on screen.
Right.
But, so I didn't want to come here today and talk about this without at least kind of knowing what the hell I was talking about. So I actually bought the audiobook of the High Republic's Light of the Jedi.
So these people that marketed you because they thought you'd buy their book because they thought you were a nerd, and then you bought the book. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So I gave it a listen, and one positive thing I will say immediately is that narrator Mark Thompson, who's done a lot of other, not all, but a ton of Star Wars audiobooks, phenomenal.
Okay.
He's a talented voice actor. He sounds like C-3PO. He sounds like Luke Skywalker. He's phenomenal. He sounds like Darth Vader.
Join me, and we will rule the galaxy as father and son.
Oh dear, we're doomed, R2. What are you doing? It's like to be at the parties. Ooh.
Perfect guy to narrate the audiobooks. And this new book has a large cast of characters, and he does his damnedest to give them all unique voices. But in my opinion, the characters are so flat, I had a hard time keeping track of who was who. All the cast of characters in Jedi were described by, this one is this kind of alien and he looks like this and has a blue lightsaber. This alien looks like that and has a green lightsaber. They do hero things. And I just kind of lost interest. I had a hard time even paying attention to the story, so Audible has a thing where you can return an audiobook if you're not happy. And in my years of listening to audiobooks, it's actually the first time I've returned it. I didn't finish it, I'm sad to say. Made about halfway through.
Okay, and how many, I know you've listened to a lot of audiobooks. How many would you say you've listened to in your life?
Well, way more than I hate to say this, but way more than I've read with my eyeballs on paper. I used to be a delivery driver, and I used to listen to almost one full unabridged audiobook per day at work, while I was working.
He no longer has that job, don't worry.
That's not why I don't have that job.
Sure it is.
But no, I mean, hundreds of audiobooks of different genre over the course of many, many years, and I kind of became... One of my favorite forms of entertainment is to listen to an audiobook. I can do that while walking the dog, driving up north, or walking the dog. But yeah, it's the first time I've ever given one back that I didn't borrow from the library.
Thanks, Kathleen Kennedy. You've made Star Wars special for all of us.
It wasn't terrible. It just needed... It read like the first draft. It just needed a little bit more work, I thought. Maybe it was a little rushed to market.
Right. So one of the things that I wanted to point out about the Civil War is if you think about and we're going to put this in the context of the book 1984 and also in the context of the Star Wars trilogy itself. So in 1984, one of the great things is about controlling information, right? So you've got these three different countries that go to war with each other, and today it'll be we're at war with this country and this other country is our ally, and then a week later it's, oh no, we've always been at war with this other country and this country's always been our ally. So it changes, and by controlling that information, you can control what people think. And this is what Kathleen Kennedy's trying to do with Star Wars. Is you've got this High Republic, you've got these sequel trilogies, you've got Luke was always a loser. None of these characters were ever really worth anything. All this new stuff is where it's at. And if you like the old stuff, then you're just wrong. Similar to, if you think about it, I'm going to actually use the context of something Rey says in a good way. By the time you get to Rey in Force Awakens, she thinks Luke Skywalker's a myth. By the time you get to Han Solo, when you're first introduced to him in A New Hope, he thinks that the Force is a myth. Mm-hmm. That was only 19 years.
Yeah, that's true. All
between when the...
It's all true.
Nice. So you've got, in the span of less than 2 decades, you've gone from the Jedi are... Everybody knows who the Jedi are. Everybody knows what the Force is, to... You've got nobody believes in the Force, or a lot of people don't. Nobody knew how the Jedi were, and then you get to 30 years from there, and the one person that kind of had come back to be a Jedi is now just a myth. That's control of information. That's what the Empire is good at. And when it comes to what Star Wars is, I'm a Gen Xer. My first experience in a movie theater, period, was going to see Empire Strikes Back. I went to visit my cousins, and they had Star Wars toys. They had a TIE fighter. Let's see, I would have been 6 years old, so I don't remember a lot of the details, but I remember the TIE fighter. And then they said, yeah, we're going to go see a movie. And I said, what's that? And they said, well, it's like a TV show, but on a bigger screen. And they're going to have these toys on here. And I'm like, there's going to be a giant TV show with toys in it? I'm in. And I've loved Star Wars ever since.
You saw Empire first? That was your first Star Wars movie?
Well, I mean, I was only a year old when Star Wars came out, so it was a little bit too small to be in the theater. But
I didn't see him in the theater, but I'm pretty sure I at least watched the first one first, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't remember which order. Again, I think my introduction to Star Wars was with the toys. I remember that at like 5 or 6. And so Star Wars to me is, of course, the original trilogy. It is, the original Darth Vader before he gets watered down. It is, that's what Star Wars is. And to try to control the information as, no, Star Wars isn't what you thought it was growing up. Star Wars isn't brave heroes and things like that. What it is a certain way of trying to forward a political agenda or something, and that's if the average person accepts that this is the new Star Wars, then the old Star Wars dies. And that's really where these lines are drawn. If you think about the fan service that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have put into The Mandalorian, bringing Luke back, he's actually a hero. He's actually a bad man in a good way, and slices through all those droids, and it's the stuff that we had been waiting to see. I mean, we'd been waiting since 1983 to see Luke do something really cool, and we had to wait another almost decade after Disney bought Lucasfilm to actually see that happen. In the meantime, we saw Luke. He was never anything. He's a failure. He's a drunk. He's just hanging out, drinking green milk.
Kind of makes you wonder what the blue milk came from. If that's what the green milk came from, what kind of a horrible thing did the blue milk come from?
Well, not one thing. Many Smurfs.
Smurf herders.
Please cancel us. So now we've got this book series. We've got they're probably going to introduce, or I don't know. Can you tell me, did they introduce Yoda as a young kid?
Well, he would have been like 600 years old instead of 900, I guess. But
okay.
I'm pretty sure they will. I just didn't get that far.
Gotcha. So then we're going to find out. I'm sure.
I wanted to like it though. It's not like I went into this with a negative attitude, saying this isn't my Star Wars. I'll take what I can get.
Right.
I like a good book, and I think this almost was. I think it just needed an edit. I think it needed maybe to be broken into a couple novels instead of one where they introduce all of the characters all at once. The premise was really cool. There's a starship that blows up in hyperspace, and the fragments are going towards inhabited planets, and they try to save these worlds. It's pretty cool. It's more of a Star Trek story almost, actually. It's a little bit more science fiction-y in the threat that it faces, and they create a new villain who are pretty cool. I forget what they're called, but they're like space pirates. They're not bad. I wouldn't mind seeing where they go with that. There's definitely potential there. I just have a sneaking suspicion it was rushed to market, but if you look at the reviews on Amazon, I'm wrong. It's all 4.5, 5-star rated stuff, so maybe I'm just not the target audience.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is there's a changing from one generation to another. So
there's nothing wrong with that in theory, but if it's a good story, it should transcend generation.
That's true, like Star Wars has.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go into this book series, the next logical step would be to transfer it to a movie. Or a series or something like that. And so far, we don't have anything like that happening, except for we have one Disney Plus show. I believe it's going to be called the
Star Wars thing.
The Star Wars thing, yes.
It'll be at least as good as the Lego Holiday Special.
I saw some of that. Not all of it. But it was better than the original Holiday Special.
That's a really high bar to achieve.
To be better than the original Star Wars Holiday Special. That's true. You have you have a few minutes of Wookiees speaking Shrillywook, which I don't understand why Han wasn't part of that conversation, because apparently he can speak Shrillywook.
Yeah.
But he just
I didn't know that was the name of the language.
Yeah, well, apparently I've never lost a game of Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, so there's probably a reason for that.
Because you're the only one that plays.
Because people won't play with me anymore.
You just sit by yourself in a corner. It's like, yep, the answer to that is Guido. He shot first.
I knew that one too.
Or didn't shoot first. Or didn't shoot at all, actually.
So
Yeah, that's right. It's not the Han shot first. It's Han shot, period.
Period. And that's the end of the debate. But that's part of, and I think maybe one of the reasons that George Lucas picked Kathleen Kennedy maybe is he saw some of what he was trying to accomplish with revising the Star Wars and trying to make Han a kinder, gentler smuggler murderer. And I'm not going to shoot you in cold blood. I'm just going to wait until you narrowly miss my face at point blank range and then shoot back. Well, and the thing that really strikes me that they couldn't do with Star Wars now, or you have at the end of A New Hope, not quite the end, when they've escaped from the Death Star, the end of that segment, and Luke is lamenting the loss of his of his father figure that he's known for 24 hours, and Leia comforts him, having just lost her entire planet. Leia doesn't have feelings. She
He also spent zero time mourning his aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
It's like, they're dead. I guess I'll leave the planet now. Whatever. I'm not even going to bury them. Just let their corpses burn.
I will go with you and fight.
Oh, big sacrifice. Everyone you know is dead. Glad you could tear yourself away.
Off to new adventures. they're obviously really close.
Yeah. So it makes some of the other stuff in the new trilogy a little bit more forgivable, like when Chewbacca's just lost his best friend of the last 30, 40 years or whatever, and his best friend's wife is there and just they just pass each other and don't acknowledge each other. And she goes to Rey, who she's known for. Actually, she just met Rey at that point, I think.
Yeah, but she's the star of the movie, so that makes sense.
She's the star of the movie, so that makes sense, yeah. So it's like, I'm going to pass by this Wookiee that I've known for 40 years. Go talk to this person I've never seen before. So yeah, there's stuff like that happens. But that's just bad editing. That's not on purpose. I feel like when we complain about Chewbacca and how he's been dealt a bad deal, we should have Sarah McLachlan music playing in the background. For just 2 credits.
Well, at least he's not dead anymore like he was in the Legends books.
That's true. Actually, that's one of the reasons, little trivial fact, one of the reasons that they made all of the Legends stuff Legends, all the new stuff, is they had killed off Chewbacca and they wanted to bring him back. So they had to basically undo all of that stuff. And the reason that they had killed off Chewbacca is because too many writers were complaining it was hard to write dialect for a Wookiee in a book.
Exclamation point.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that in pirate novels. They both use a lot of R's.
Why is his name Chewbacca? How is it an English pronounceable name or a basic pronounceable name? Shouldn't his name be?
True. That's a very good. That's a very.
I spend time thinking about this when I should be doing things like,
listening to audiobooks.
Yeah. Anything productive. There's like a whole chunk of my brain where this shit is, where something useful could be, like how to fix a car or, do my taxes or math
or helping your landlady with her garbage.
But I can tell you all about Star Wars, and I know exactly what happened in Episode 27 of the original Star Trek.
Well, that's why we're friends. So I probably sound like the grumpy, angry Gen Xer that just wants his Star Wars back, and probably because I am, and I do. And that's what makes people like Kathleen Kennedy hate me and want to label me. But the thing is, are you supposed to hate your fan base? Are you supposed to hate the people that are now the dominant market force in the United States? Are you really supposed to hate your fans so much that you get one of their favorite characters fired? Is that good business?
Yes. Disney is not short on cash, and they can pretty much do whatever they want, and I will give them my money.
That's true. That's true.
At least temporarily until I return the audiobook.
It's like, I hate you for what you did to Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy. I'm going to cancel my... Oh, wait, no, WandaVision. Oh, wait, no, Mickey Mouse. I got a toddler. Yeah.
I actually probably like the new trilogy more than you. I think that they're fun movies, but they don't hold a candle to the original. And I think the prequel trilogies are superior, but I still like it as a whole. But I definitely prefer The Mandalorian to the new trilogy. It feels just the aesthetic. It just feels more Star Warsy, if that's a word.
Yeah. Well, it's got for one thing, it pays homage to the original characters. And a lot of people were really, really crazy over Boba Fett. Boba Fett was cool.
Nice poster. Oh, what, like you a big fan of the Fett?
No. It's always more of a Star Wars guy.
Star Wars guy. Who is this?
His backpack's got jets. He's Boba the Fett.
My backpack's got jets. Well, I'm Boba the Fett.
Google it. I'm not going to show it to you.
Isn't there a Fett's Vet song? Is that the one?
Something.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But the way he died, my first impression of him was, he didn't do much. He died in an awfully silly way. And then of course it turns out that he wasn't, but that wasn't until much, much later.
Didn't George Lucas add a burp to the monster in the sandpit to he's really dead? Why are you writing books about him? George Lucas wanted Boba Fett to be effing dead. But
no, it's just that burp came from the Tupperware that he was in. That's what shielded him.
How did he get his suit back? Did the rank? What was the monster with the sandpit teeth thing? The Dune ripoff monster that they fed people into?
It's all Dune ripoff. It was the pit of Carcoon, the nesting place of the Almighty Sarlacc.
Is Boba Fett actual poop now?
Well, there's rumors that the Krayt Dragon actually ate the Sarlacc, and that's why there was an empty Sarlacc home for the Krayt Dragon to inhabit.
See, I think about these things when I'm trying to sleep at night.
But that was actually kind of inferred in the dialogue. That's how he.
I want to know in The Mandalorian how what's his face got Boba Fett's suit in the first place.
Cobb Vanth. Well, they actually played it out in there. He bought it from the Jawas. Now, how did the Jawas get it?
Ding ding
Jawas.
Ding 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 ding.
We'll see you in the sequel. So they brought back Boba Fett, who was a fan favorite. That that's clearly, and I hate to use the word. What's the word I'm going for?
Awesome.
Awesome fan service. So that was clearly fan service, but what really is a movie or a show or something other than something to delight your fans?
Well, everything's been fan service since A New Hope. I mean, every sequel, every movie, every book, it's all about, well, you like this thing, let's give you more of it.
No, that's true.
I don't like the term fan service because it's, well, what is it supposed to be? It's like, you won't like this.
Yeah.
We're going to put as much stuff in here as a Star Wars fan that you won't like. Rian Johnson.
We're going to subvert your expectations. But I actually thought about going on this little. Speaking of subverting expectations, think about in A New Hope, and okay, so 1977, you've got you've got equality issues. Where are you going? Gotcha. All right, so let's start this over. So, okay, you're gonna have to edit this whole bit out. Where in the hell? Oh, so speaking of subverting expectations, and not in the Rian Johnson way. So, 1977, Star Wars: A New Hope. You've got this classic trope of this princess damsel in distress, right? You've got this mighty, knight in shining armor shows up to rescue her, and what's the first thing she says? Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
I'm sorry, am I distracting you?
Not at all.
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Huh? Oh, the uniform.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Once you've got an established universe and things are kind of supposed to go a certain way, and then you subvert those, and it isn't just one at a time. It's literally everything. The entire movie, where it's like, oh, lightsaber, and then you've got the big bad guy that's going to be there till the end. Oh no, he's dead. And you've got literally, all the fans they're just dying to know about Rey's lineage, and being that this is the second movie, if we're going to have an echo back to Empire Strikes Back, this is where we're going to find out. Nope, they're nobody. They're dead in a ditch somewhere. They're just a couple poppers. Literally everything in that movie. And it wasn't in a good way. It wasn't to take a character where you think, oh, this person's just another damsel in distress. But no, this is Star Wars. This is different. This is a powerful woman. She's thinking and fighting her way out of the situation. All she needed was to get let out of the cell and give her a blaster, and off she goes, right? And so, what Star Wars was, the original subverting of expectations, because it was turning societal thought on its head, has become what you think is wrong, and if you don't like it, you're wrong. And that's really at the core of the battle that's going on between these two sides. And I'm seeing the Mandalorian's success as being the destruction of the first Death Star, and really we're in the Empire Strikes Back. We need to take away some of your characters. We can't take away the lead character because that would be a little too obvious, but we're going to start knocking off one by one smaller bit characters until you don't really have a show anymore. And then that'll prove that the new Star Wars is much more successful because the other ones can't keep its employees.
Even though none of it would exist at all if it wasn't for the original Star Wars.
Right.
To rewind a little bit, in fairness to Rian Johnson's movie, he, in his subverting expectations, as it were, Empire Strikes Back did a lot of that too. And if you look at a lot of the original movie reviews of Empire Strikes Back, a lot of people hated it. It's like Luke Skywalker's not the hero he was. The bad guys, win. It just did turn a lot of 180 on a lot of stuff that was done in the original Star Wars, but it tied in really well with the third movie, and it made a whole trilogy. Whereas each of the new sequel movies are their own distinctly different, doesn't relate to the other thing very well. It's like J.J. Abrams made his cool movie, Rian Johnson made his movie, and then J.J. Abrams said, no, I'm going to try to get back my other movie.
Yeah.
And they just don't congeal. There's not one coherent narrative flow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite work the way I think they wanted it to. But anyway, going back to the Civil War, I forgot what your point was because I started a sidetrack, and I might have been drinking scotch.
Into the point about the Rian Johnson in the middle, and that's if you were going to intentionally sabotage a movie series.
Oh, right. Okay.
If you were going to intentionally do this, can you think of a better way than the way Rian Johnson did it? If you intentionally wanted to screw up everything that J.J. Abrams had set up, what else could he have done better to literally destroy all of what came about in the first movie?
I don't know. It's a good question. But yeah, it is almost like J.J. Abrams set him up and he knocked him back.
Right.
And J.J. Abrams came back and said, well, now what the f*** am I supposed to do?
Exactly.
I guess Palpatine's back now?
Yeah, Grandpa Palpy, we'll bring him back and he'll do something. Well, how did he get there?
Actually, your parents weren't nobodies, after all.
Yeah, yep. And I've been just hanging out.
And look, we have Snoke in a jar.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like whiskey in a jar. So, so that's where we are.
Better than Jar Jar in a jar.
It's a jar. Well, if your Jar Jar in a jar is a jar,
you have a Jar Jar in a jar. A jar?
You could have a jar. Well, yeah, and if you scared him, he'd be in a jar, in a jar, jar.
A jarred Jar Jar in a jarred. I can't do that.
A ding a ding dang, my dang a dong ding dong.
Rubber baby boogie bumpers.
So that's where we are now. It really is kind of a battle for the soul of Star Wars. I don't think that we're saying anything that people aren't already maybe thinking deep down. But next time you consume Star Wars content, if you're not paying attention to which side it was on. Critique what you really, what did you get from it? What do you really think? And then look to see who directed it. Look which side it was. Is this a Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni? Is this a Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson? Is it which side of the camp is it on? And you will find that at the end of watching something Kathleen Kennedy, it's probably going to, what were they trying to convey to me? What were they trying to tell me about how I should live my life, how I should treat people in society? What was the message that they were trying to give me? And if you're watching something from the other camp, it's going to be, damn, that was cool. That when Luke Skywalker sliced up all those robots, that was freaking great. I miss having Luke Skywalker. This reminds me of when I was a kid and I dreamed of being a Jedi. And that's really it's night and day difference. One is what message am I trying to receive, and the other one is how much fun did I have.
It was fun.
Well, and that's really the crux of this whole Civil War, right? So you've literally got people that could watch all this Kathleen Kennedy stuff and like it and go on to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Rey is great, even though, whatever. And so you really could have two Star Warses, and have the PC version where, where Kathleen Kennedy's universe reigns supreme, and then you have the version for people who love Star Wars. And one of them is going to be successful, and one of them is not. And unfortunately, if you can't make your own product successful, sometimes you have to underline the other product, right? So that's what the Kennedy camp is doing right now. Again, circling back to let's get some of these actors fired. Let's create some fake public outrage to make it look like these people can't control their actors, and there's rumors going around that Pedro Pascal is quitting now, and let's create all this strife. That's all intentional, folks. That's all subterfuge. That's all Kathleen Kennedy and her camp creating this stuff just to get you to stop watching The Mandalorian, just to get you to stop looking at the stuff that you loved as a child and the stuff that makes Star Wars successful, because it's just so incredibly damaging to what they're trying to do, and that's alter your reality. That's to turn Luke Skywalker into a myth. That's to turn your childhood, what you remembered, into like a false memory. And that's the only way that they can be successful, is for you to think, oh no, Jedi having superpowers for no reason and no training that's perfectly normal.
Star Wars Episode 10, The Mandela Effect.
Exactly. The Mandalorian. It's all related. So that's all I got.
That's all I have to say about that.
There we go.